when I met Jesus Christ, he was almost 10 years old. And he was helping his mother push a trolley full of all they owned. And because they couldn't find an inn they could get in, they were heading to the city and leaving Bethlehem. Couldn't you perform a miracle? I'm out of them, he said. I tried turning nothing into warmth, but it just made my mother cry. It just made my mother cry. Mary Magdalene has become a man, and tonight he's old, and she has been riding my tram. Now it's late and she's trying to sleep beneath a poster for a bank. Your dreams are important to us as it bathes her face in gold. Come give us your natural gifts, we make wealth from toil. Come pretend for history's page that we're advancing Australia fair. Let's pretend that we're all advancing Australia fair. Back down the road I found the church we built on the black man's bones was empty, and out the front a sign read all but sold. A sign read all but sold. And we all owe so much money, but to whom we're not quite sure. So head down, we just keep running along our fading golden shores. So head down, we just keep running along our fading golden shores. Come give us your natural gifts, we make wealth from toil. Come pretend for history's page that we're advancing Australia fair. Let's pretend that we're all advancing Australia fair.
Morning, Jonathan. How you doing?
Morning, Mr. Griffith. How are you? That's
Yeah,
a lovely
yeah,
song,
it's-
isn't it?
Yeah, but it's the same morning, the same morning waking up and just going, okay, we're still stuck in this crazy Netflix film. And anyway, I'm just gonna. Is there anything you want to say? I'm gonna read out our guest's bio because this is really impressive. Is there anything you want to say before I do?
No, you go right ahead. Yes.
Okay, so Jacob reached out to us last week. So Jacob's here to discuss a RYTZ, which is an AI-powered legal intelligence platform built for Australian parents navigating family law. 40% of parents in the family court are forced to represent themselves because they can't afford a lawyer. The average family, this is the teleprompter, the average family law matter costs $25,000 plus. Yeah, it's easy. Relationship breakdowns is the leading risk factor for suicide amongst Australian men aged 25 to 44. That's the truth. RYTZ was built to change that. So let's bring him in. This is, I'll just get rid of that because I love the fact that he's lost. I think he's been through the system and lost everything, but let's hear it from him rather than me reading it out. G'day, Jacob.
G'day, Michael. G'day, John.
G'day, Jacob. Yeah, thanks very much for coming on. As I understand it, you're not actually a victim of the system. You just worked with a lot of people who were. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
You're a lot saner, really, than a lot of the separated dads. We ran dads on the air for a decade, and they're so furious, they're so angry about it that they're often their own worst representatives. So, can you tell us?
Touch what I never go through myself. So my background is straight out of school, I went on to the docks, so blue collar. And throughout that whole time, there was so many men that I'd worked with who had been through it and lost, everything, started from scratch. And you could just tell, like, it's probably taken me a long time to look back on those individuals. At the time, I was naive and just thought, this guy's a bit depressed and flat and whatever else. But once you start putting a few pieces together, that they've been separated from their children, they've lost so much financially, that they were sort of just broken men. But one thing that always stuck with me, that whenever you would speak to them about their children, they would light up. Their phones would come out. They'd be showing you photos, telling them what they're doing on the weekends, etc. So that stayed with me. And then continuing on, no matter what circle I was in, there was always someone that knew someone or someone that was going through the court system who had just been absolutely obliterated.
Yeah, we've got a... okay. Sorry, John, what did you say? I was just going to say, one of our actors in one of our plays is Australia's, he won Barrister of the Year. He works in the family law courts, Darren Mort. And his stories, he says, if you're a man going in the family law courts, you are going into hell. It's really stacked against the men. So you totally concur with what you're saying. And I too. And well, John's done it with what he was working with men. But I'm like you just hear the same stories all the time. And there was another woman I saw who was, she did an interview before me. The New South Wales police basically asked her to write a book and investigate how many women killed themselves after domestic abuse situations or family breakups. And she found out that hardly any do, but men do it en masse, and most of it is shame. And so it was the men who were dying, not the women. I don't know if they published it or not, but that was her story. So this is an incredibly important thing. So let's go from there. So what have you come up with? That's your motivation to try affect change, and what have you done about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I'll try and piece a few points together to sort of how I got there and give a bit of background. So back in 2016, Google's DeepMind had a program called AlphaGo, where it beats the master Go players in the world at their game. And it's the most technical game with the most outcomes and moves and possibilities there is. So a decade ago, AI models were able to learn the rules of the game and beat the masters. I think it was 4-1. Since then, technology's just got better and better, more capable. And a few years ago, probably 4 years ago, when ChatGPT was released, it sort of just clicked in my mind that the legal system as a whole had a massive opportunity that we could teach models all of the different laws, how it all integrates, teach the system the rules basically, and how people can navigate it. I then spent years trying to sell that to law firms and everything else, but they just weren't interested at all. And then
Why do you think that was?
I think they were sort of just happy how things were going and were probably skeptical of the technology, happy how things were going. The people I would speak to, who were the decision makers in the firms, were 55, 60 plus, who were in sort of their golden years where they didn't need to rock the boat at all. They were happy continuing on.
Yeah.
And then reading John's book early last year, it sort of lit a fire, reading a lot of the stories. And I thought something has to be done. And then as soon as I started looking at the data and the reports of what's actually happening, I saw that the need wasn't for the lawyers and the legal professionals. They've got technology left, right, and centre. The need was for the people who have no idea how to navigate the system, because the system has been built by lawyers for lawyers. So it's providing a solution for everyday Australians who are in the fight of their lives.
It's essentially an asset stripping operation, and it's a huge gold mine for lawyers. Some estimates put it at $13 billion industry. I think it's probably higher these days. So, and we all know that the entire legal profession knows family lawyers are seen as the bottom of the rung, the scum at the bottom of the pond sort of thing, that, it's a he said, she said jurisdiction. The judgments are wildly all over the place. There's no coherence to the court. And so this is already well known. So you will not just save the fathers a huge amount of money, but you'll also do a few pretty scummy lawyers out of business. Is that correct?
We'll see what happens. If we can save some money for the families, you know what I mean? The cost of living and just living in general at the moment is just, it's getting further and further out of reach. You whack on fees starting at 25, 30,000, then you're just putting someone so far behind that how are they meant to make a life for themselves? How are they meant to get the Australian dream? So if we can work towards that and just provide clarity where they don't need to empty.
That's the book there.
That's the book there. Yeah, great book. Pretty heavy. A lot of heavy stories in there, but it's worth a read.
Yeah, there's so much hard work. My God.
But I think a few numbers stand out. The last report I read, there was 110,000 cases around Australia that make the courts. So that's 220,000 men and women. And from that, there was 3,000 registered family lawyers in Australia. So immediately the supply and demand is just completely skewed. So if you do go to the lawyer to get professional help, which always recommend, you need to pay for their time, and they have such demand that they can charge whatever they want.
Yeah.
I've seen fathers spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in a desperate bid just to see their kids, and their chances are more or less zero. So, it's a great thing that you've done. It really, it's a really great thing. So out of all of this, I mean, no normal person can follow family law. It's been changed and altered and so many times that you look at one thing and it refers to another act, and away it goes. And the last trench, which almost no Australians are aware of, pushed through by the Labor government, means that they don't have to adhere to rules of evidence, for instance, those sorts of things. So it's a completely arbitrary jurisdiction. And was there any public debate about family law dispensing with rules of evidence?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Exactly right.
How does the app work, Jacob?
So basically, I've compiled all of the family law legal corpus. So say 80 documents all pulled together, obviously the cornerstone being the 1975 Act. You can then imagine splitting it up into thousands of little shards. So each section's organised and stored. We have that as a database, a legal base. We've then grabbed thousands of cases, completed analysis on them to try and identify common patterns throughout them all. So then when a user asks just a question in plain English, our systems will go off into the back end of it all, find the relevant sections, find the relevant cases, pull it back and just provide clarity of how it's relevant, potential steps forward that other people have found useful. Obviously, we can't give direct legal advice, but we can show common patterns and what is relevant and what it has meant for other people in similar circumstances.
Yeah, so precedents and stuff that they can learn. Yeah.
Did you have any legal background yourself?
No, not at all. And I've had a few.
That's probably a good thing.
I've had a few people mention that. It's like, why are you doing this? What's your background? RYYTZ. Well, no one else is doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I waited for a long time for people to do something, and then eventually I thought, no one's doing it, so I'm going to have a crack at it. Naively, I thought it might take a couple of months just in my spare time, but it turned into an absolute monster project to make sure it was accurate, that there were no sort of hallucinations where it gives false information or anything like that. So it ended up consuming my life for a very long time.
How long? Can I just ask? I'm really interested in how much time you've put into this.
Because I've all bootstrapped it myself, so it's been self-funded to pay for the technology, infrastructure, everything like that. I probably started playing around probably December 2024, sort of playing around, and then all last year in my spare hours was taken up with building that. So my life and my focus just went very focused. I mean, very obsessed on this one topic. So I let a lot of other things slip in my life to get it to where it is now. So, and I wanted to give up plenty of times. There were plenty of moments at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night where I was just thinking, what am I doing here? But I couldn't help but look at and remember the statistics of the suicide. So I just thought, look, if this can help one person at some point in their life, then I just need to keep going. So over 12 months, so long-winded answer.
Yeah, cool.
This is an amazing example, family law, of how detached the Australian government and the Australian bureaucracies are from the reality on the ground. And how is it possible that after 50 years of this diabolical mess, it's even messier, even more damaging, and even more distrusted and disliked than ever? I mean, how is it that this problem hasn't been fixed after all these years? Did you form any conclusions as to why?
Oh, I don't think there's really an incentive to fix it from the industry behind it. You know what I mean? If it is a multi-billion-dollar industry, the people who are making the calls have no incentive really. I know you touched on in your book, John, that the Howard government briefly floated the idea of making reforms and everything, but they never really followed through with it. And then since then, government's obviously swung a lot more left over the years, and now we are where we are today. So it's going to take everyday Australians and entrepreneurs who can see inefficiencies and try and provide a solution and not have to rely on reforms coming through.
Keating, to his credit.
Oh, go ahead.
Paul Keating, former Prime Minister, to his credit, also had a go in 1995, and the pushing the concept of shared care and shared parenting, and the number of shared care orders made by the court actually went down after the legislation was passed. So they have a long history of essentially ignoring the parliament and ignoring the will of the people. How do you think the whole drumbeat of domestic violence plays into that? We have a whole vast bureaucracy constantly talking about masculine, toxic masculinity and, or, you know, abusive men and all the rest of it, with nothing put on the other side of the agenda. So did you form any conclusions about that? What do you advise? It's a very common scenario. What do you advise when false allegations are made against a father?
Well, obviously they're on the back foot immediately. And you don't really need to prove the allegations or anything. So it's not very just. It's not very right at the moment. But what we can do is try and show them what other people have done in terms of collecting evidence, documenting everything, which traditionally males in particular aren't very good at. You know, they're working probably 10-hour days plus. They need to then come home. They need to then store and document and order everything chronologically. So the system is what it is at the moment, but all that can be done at the moment is to try and provide the tools to help make it clear and to help sort of show them steps that they can take, for the very least to provide hope. And that's probably one of the big things when you look at the suicide rates and everything else. They're not only destroyed financially, they're ripped from their families. There is no hope. So a lot of people are taking that path out, which is just tragic.
I think the highest rate, the day where they kill themselves the most is Sunday after they've dropped their children off. That's well done. And so Sunday afternoon is the big day for us losing men. You know, we did we're in a little town, Corowa, I think, and I had an idea for a way to show how many men were killing themselves, because 6 a day, it was 6 a day then officially. And so we did day one, which was like one photo. You had 6 men on stage. Day 2, 12. Day 3, 18. We couldn't get to day 7 because we ran out of men to put on the stage. So we couldn't actually finish the process. And it was to drill it home that these people aren't statistics. So this is absolutely great way going through. Can I say, can a gentleman have it on his phone, or even a woman too, because there's women here going through. So can someone have it on their phone in court? Can it actually work in real time that way?
I heard a fella say that he went against his ex-partner's solicitor, and he did well in putting holes through their arguments, which is good feedback, and that's what we want. Yeah, it's available on your phone, not as an app at the moment. That'll come in the future, but it's a progressive web app where you can do it all through just the internet browser.
Oh, yep. Okay, so it goes through the browser. Yeah, it's let's go. So, say you were using it. You're going. Most guys I know don't even want to go to courts. They're willing to bend over backwards, give the woman anything, rather than going to courts. But I think from what I've heard is the lawyers that tell a woman, or let's go to court, and they go from there. Obviously, the chance they're going to get more money. So how would you start off with it? If you say you're going up against the court system, you know nothing about it, and you get your app, what would be the first steps of using the app to suddenly getting a hang of what you're doing?
You just need to, it's been built in a way that all you need to do is explain your situation and circumstances in plain English. And then after that, we do the heavy lifting to understand what that means and what's relevant. So it should be as simple as sitting down like this and having a natural conversation. Picture it like an old friend that you're speaking to, because that's what it's sort of been built around. I tried to go back to first principle thinking of what makes a lawyer the top of the pile. Or they'd be, emotionally intelligent. They would have deep knowledge of all, cases and precedents and the sections and how it all interrelates. So it's been built with that thought in mind. So it should be sitting there talking to an old friend and then having a bounce back and forth. The beauty of it is that over time, the more you speak to it and the more information you give it, which is all private and stored on Australian servers, the more it understands and the more it can tailor your case file. So every conversation you have, every piece of evidence that you upload, in the background, it's creating a case file for yourself. So even if you do eventually go to courts, you can print out your case file, which builds over time, provide it to a lawyer, cut through a lot of the billable hours of trying to discover what's going on, dates, etc. So even if they do go to lawyers, it's going to save them a lot. And if not, they're going to have complete understanding of sort of what's happened and possible paths forward.
Wow. What do you think, John?
Draft up submissions for you, affidavits and all of that? I mean, most blokes wouldn't know what an affidavit was, until you're faced with this.
Yeah,
Does it help you draft up affidavits, for instance?
So about a month ago, I ran a beta testing. So we had about 75 Australian parents, men and women, on the platform using it, providing feedback. And that was one of the key points, was affidavit preparation was a massive point. So at the moment, we've got something basic, but working on something more in depth in the background that can walk people through that and help them understand what's required, limits, make sure it's set up, to a professional standard.
It's an incredibly cruel process. I mean, you go to work all day, you get home, you've got to write this affidavit, trawling over this terrible situation. You're heartbroken because of your kids. Men don't network in the same way that women do. They just get up and go to work, and they make friends through what they do. So it's a completely different level of social and emotional support that they're dealing with. They get extremely isolated. So I think that's great that you can cut down anything to make that process any simpler. It just, to this day, astounds me that any attempt to reform this diabolical systems have failed, and that clearly now we have a Labor government, which once was, your local tradie was, that was who they represented. Now they're representing the snivelling elites, worried about climate change or something. So how did that happen, that the Labor Party betrayed their core constituency so badly?
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know. They probably just flop around with the wind and whatever's trending at the time, to be honest. But back to another point you made about, fathers coming home. In your book, I think you mentioned that on average they spend, I don't know if it was 42 or 46 days in trying to prepare and do the research required on top of their work. So even if this cut it down to 10 days, 14 days, less, it just needs to provide clarity. Clarity where
clarity is the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that gives you some confidence. You're going in there, you're not going in like a babes in the wood, you know what I mean? Because Yeah, it's even if you're going in on a minor charge, the court is like a different theater. It has its own language, its own rules, its own customs. It's really daunting, and I think it's set up to be daunting when you go in there. So it's yeah, yeah, this is great. And how much does it cost?
It's free access at the start, and then once you start hitting limits, it kicks in to $59 an hour. Still working out price points, and the theory on that is that 1 hour with a senior lawyer is $600 an hour. So if we can offer rights, so the brand's rights, if we can offer 12 months of access for less than an hour with a senior lawyer, then that's value.
Oh, so that's $59 for the year, not per hour you're using it.
$590 for 12 months access.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
But there's no contracts. You can jump in and out, keep your case file. And we're having great feedback. I've also had people reach out. There was one fellow who had lost his job, couldn't get Centrelink, was still paying child support, and was like, I've got no options here. Like, what do I do? I'm like, it's okay. Here you go. Good luck, and hopefully we can figure this out for you. But that's just one instant. There was comments in a Facebook group yesterday with the father saying, the rope's the easiest option here. I've been working FIFO for years. I've got nothing. I've been fleeced of everything. The rope's the easiest option. And they're everywhere. Yeah. All these online groups, there are just stories absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, they're broken. And they've given up. So this is, and the lawyers, yeah, I hate to say it, the lawyers are terrifying. You know, it's yeah. I think it sounds like a great idea. I think it's brilliant. It's
the one point we should make is that you know, the other side, usually the woman, but not always, you know, are often backed up with legal aid. So and legal aid is essentially a backdoor funding of the court. So people with no lawyer, no experience of the system, never heard of it, have no idea what an affidavit is even before they walk into this maze of a complicated system, and they're desperate. You know, the idea is to bludgeon them so they'll settle at the door. But yeah, I just think that's a point to make. Is that do you find that too?
Yeah, 100%. Let's say I play chess and you play chess, John. You've studied chess for 4 years and you've got help, you know what I mean? You will beat me. I've got no experience. You will beat me 100 times out of 100 because you understand the rules, the ins and outs, and how it actually operates. The people the fathers who self-represent are going up against trained professionals. And I also want to make a point of the Australian legal professionals lead the world in AI adoption at 98%. So they're ahead of United States, Canada, UK. They're using these tools every day. So not only, John, do you have 4 years of chess experience, but you also have AI as a tool behind you to make things even more efficient and more, beneficial for your client. It would be okay if, yes, there was 98% adoption rate from the professionals, and that was getting reflected in the hourly rates and what the average cost per party. But it's not. So RYTZ is about bringing the same tools, our tools that these professionals use, but providing them straight to the individuals who are representing themselves.
Great. Did you form any views about the rates of suicide and why the politicians aren't doing anything about it? And the links now, Pierre Baum being one of the researchers that really established that there was a clear link between breakdown and suicide amongst men. And why is nobody taking any action?
Yeah, look, I don't know why no one's taking any action or taking the streets, because it is a mental health crisis when you look at the numbers. Yeah, I don't know. I hope that there's a pendulum sort of effect, and at the moment we're very far left and it's all that way, but hopefully more people start coming to the surface and speaking about providing solutions and just shining a light on the figures that can't be, disputed. Hopefully from that, people have their own stories and it starts swinging back to a more level field.
And women can do this too, isn't it? It's not just aimed at men, but it's
Yeah.
like we've got Anna here.
It's just a tool.
Yeah.
I've had heaps of women use it, and just again provide clarity on their circumstances. It's not picking sides or saying this is for men or women. Initially, the motivation was for men, just purely by hearing a lot of the stories. But it's not about picking sides. All I want is a fair and just fight. That's what rights is all about.
Yeah, and the cost of living too is another factor.
If both parties have access to the same technology, same intelligence, then it should be a lot more amicable. They should come to that same conclusion, and it should be fair. But we'll see what happens.
One of the biggest problems in family law is the so-called expert witnesses, or the family report writers, who are notoriously dishonest, essentially. And so what does the app say about how to deal with them? You can get a war of experts. Like, it's a problem throughout Australia's legal system, but in particular in family law, it's diabolical because a lot of the judgments aren't made on anything but a report. I know one woman wrote a whole book about this. She saw the psychiatrist for 7 minutes, literally 7 minutes, and lost her children as a result. And and she was so incensed by the whole thing, she wrote a book about it. But that's quite common. These people see the clients, and the way it goes. What does your system say about how to deal with that?
Without knowing sort of exactly what it will respond, because the intelligence is there, I would imagine that it'll prepare the individual to say what they should expect, so you're not going in blind. If you can half brace yourself, try and understand the questions that are going to be asked, how it relates, and keep you cool throughout all of those conversations, then it's going to hold you in good stead. Without knowing who does the reports and sort of what their mindset is, we've got no control over that. But what we can control is sort of the preparation side of things, the having evidence, the reports from be that schools, local community coaches and whatever else. It's all about trying to start collecting that evidence, store it so you can present it.
I personally think the family report writers should be cut out of the system altogether. There's zero evidence that seeing a psychiatrist for an hour in such high stress situations is an appropriate way to decide custody. But it's those family reports, and they get thousands of dollars for each report, which are basically just a string. It's another part of a diabolical system. That anyway, that's my view.
If you imagine,
sorry.
Imagine an everyday Australian father, let's say he's 40 years old, just worked 50 hours for the week. His wife's left him, they're separated, his kid's future's on the line.
He's on a mate's couch.
He's running at a very high emotional level. It's going to be agitated. If he then goes to a meeting with someone like that, be that psychiatrist, whoever it be, if he speaks out of line, within that 7-minute period, then they're going to base the whole future of the children on that report, which you're taking someone in a very vulnerable, emotionally high state, and then basing their whole children's future, which
even if they don't speak out of line, he's a male, and those report writers only get that work because of the incredible bias in the system. And if they buck the system, they don't get any more work. So it's a self-perpetuating system of extreme bias and extreme dishonesty in the end. It's a diabolical system.
Is it run by a prompt system, Jacob? Like there's a prompt that you put in, like an AI prompt, or how do you access the information within it?
Yeah, so the user asks questions, as in just plain English, and then, as I said, we handle all the back end. So it's an orchestration where it takes that, it goes through one certain database where we've got all the sections lined up. It's called Pinecone, and then takes the findings from there, pulls it back, analyzes it, goes to another database, finds more relevant cases, pulls it back, compiles all the information from the initial question. It looks at the history of your previous conversations, your case file, And then once it has all of that information, it then analyzes it and then gives a response. So it's pulling from sections, cases, previous history of your conversations in your case file, and then gives you a response. So it's like a scaffolded orchestration.
So you first came up with this idea 10 years ago, but it's only the evolution of AI that's made this actually possible now, isn't it? Can you talk about that?
10 years ago was when AlphaGo, the Google programs, won the Go game. So that's when
I remember that
kicking off.
Yeah.
The idea for this in particular was probably late 2024.
All right, gotcha. Sorry.
And that's when technology and AI in general were getting to a level where you could actually build something like this. It hasn't been possible for anyone to build a consumer app where you can go direct to the consumer at the end, just because there's previously been way too much engineering and work involved. Usually you'd probably need a team of 3 to 4, maybe more engineers to build something like this. But now with the improvements in the technology and how good they are at software engineering, if you have enough sort of grit and determination, you can build something like this and then offer it at a price point. Where traditionally, anyone who is to build a legal tech platform would sell straight to the enterprises, because that's where the money is, and that's who can afford it.
Yeah.
You don't usually target a market for people who can't afford help in the first place, but that's the whole idea. You know what I mean?
I can't see lawyers wanting to back anything which is going to see them lose money. You know, and they're going to have to.
Any threats from any legal associations? Or,
that's an interesting thing.
Well, we'll see after this talk. But no, but the thing is, these individuals, the 40% who are self-representing anyway, so let's say that's 88,000 Australians a year, they're not getting legal help anyway. You know what I mean? So then it's not eating into the lawyer's work. It's just trying to even the playing field for them. So yes, there might be a bit of pushback that's saying, oh, AI is going to take this job or whatever else, but it's about providing the tools to the underserved who aren't even going to the professionals in the first place.
There's
about the ethnicity. I mean, it varies right across. It's a social, marriage is essentially a social institution. So in Australia, and one of the reasons why it's claimed that Australian family law is so racist is that, for instance, Muslims have a very codified way of dealing with breakdown, which is essentially, it's unfortunate, but and it's done by the imam of the local mosque. And that is that the child stays with the mother for the first 7 years and then goes to the father. So that's really codified in their culture. The Sudanese have a completely different sort of system, and it's not a nuclear family system where basically the brother brings up the kids. So it varies dramatically across Australia. So is there any of that built into this system, how to deal with those sorts of... And of course, one little trick that people are using now is to claim Indigenous heritage, because, of course, family is so important to the Indigenous, and the court being, a child of the left, constantly bows and scrapes to these sort of things. So
we haven't had any users come through yet of, say, Sudanese background and Muslim background. So it'll be interesting to see what our systems pick up, and if it does tailor all of the responses and paths forward for them. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's sort of separate rules for all the different groups.
How about insurances? Getting insurance for the app in case somebody decides they followed your advice, or they lie and say they followed your advice and didn't, and try to sue you. How have you managed to get insurance for it?
Yeah, we've got liability insurance through the company, but we've also got very strict onboarding processes where the terms of use, the AI use. So we can't promise that it's going to be accurate 100% of the time, and no legal tech platform around the world can promise that. So we've done all we can to provide all the documentation and everything where they can read through. Got disclaimers throughout the whole platform to always seek professional help, to check the sources. But the steps we have taken is to make sure that everything that we do reference can be cited and drilled down into, so you can see the section, you can follow it right to the root of where it is in the act and whatnot.
Okay, and You said there've been reviews. People have been using it, and what are they saying about it? What's some of the responses?
I could pull up some of the testimonials, but it's basically just
Yeah,
how
sure.
much of a. This is sorry. A mother said, having recently separated from my ex-partner of 10 years, I had no idea where to begin. I couldn't afford a lawyer, stuck in limbo, feeling overwhelmed, fearful for our girl's future and not knowing where to start. After only 1 hour of using RYTZ, I'd obtained so many answers to my questions. And I finally felt like I had the guidance I'd been searching for. I still hadn't had time to explore. And then, more feedback from the fathers who just said, thank you so much for this. You've given a father hope to keep on fighting. And just little comments like that make everything worth it, because in that 12 months, there's so much internal doubt that you go through. It's like, is this going to work? Is someone going to find use out of this? And then to have a couple of comments, you're like, oh, good. I'm glad it can help, because that's all it's here for, really. And it gives me something to sort of have purpose and continually building.
There's been a lot of historical precedent to people trying to do this before AI. Like if you look at Fathers After Divorce by Michael Green, who was a barrister and a lovely bloke. He lived around the corner from where I lived for a while. And so he put a huge amount of effort into that book, for instance, as a kind of guide for fathers. And that was like 20, 25 years ago or something. That book came out, and it was followed by one called, also by him, called Shared Parenting, trying to say this should be the norm. But then there was a thing that a lot of separated blokes put together called the Australian Family Law Guide, if I remember rightly. And so there's been a lot of people that have tried this sort of thing. And basically, in the era before AI, it just couldn't be done. You can now physically talk to this, or you have to put it in mechanically, or you can speak to it.
You have to type it into the moment, but eventually we can add the voice capabilities for sure. Right. But it is only possible now, and as I said, it is only possible to build something for the consumer just purely by cost. Myself, for the last November 2022, day and night, I've worked sort of with this technology. So the amount you learn in that time just continues to compound. So it hasn't been easy, but it's been years and years of hard work, of not only on this platform, with different technology, to be able to get to this stage, to be able to provide something. So we're very lucky. And one sort of point to remember is that these models are as dumb as they will ever be now. Like, they're only going to get more and more capable. So we need people to actually provide solutions, be that family law or any other areas in society that there are inefficiencies, to use these tools to help each other. If we rely on reform to come, we'd be mad, because it hasn't come in 50 years. So at some point you need to take control and take action.
The other thing, Jacob, is like down here it says, make it a criminal offence for a woman to lie in court, because I think Julia Gillard changed that law that a woman can lie and there's no perjury charges. So does the app deal with that? If you're up against a partner who's lying, does it give you suggestions on how to work around that? Yeah.
Without giving direct legal advice, it can show you sort of nuanced language of what other people have done and sort of steps you can take to start arguing against and building a case against it, which sort of evidence you need to collect, etc. So those laws, that's probably one of the worst things that's ever come through, where they can lie and have no sort of repercussion for it. So we can't change the laws. We can't go back and change any of that, but we can try and, as we said before.
Yes, it's called the Palace of Lies for good reason. Very good reason.
Did you come across that, John, when you were researching the book of partners lying with no recourse?
They lie constantly. It's to your advantage. It's encouraged by the legal system. It's a adversarial system, and it's a he said, she said jurisdiction, and there are benefits to lying. So you, in a sense, it's not the warring parties, and they're warring over money, property at a crisis point in their lives, and they will, they're frightened that they're going to end up with nothing on the street, lose the kids, everything, and that's both men and women. So the system just encourages deceit, and that's one of the worst things about it as an adversarial system. And it's hard to believe that 50 years ago it was set up to avoid the fighting, to be, where they could make an agreement and basically share the kids. The family court was originally set up as a non-adversarial system, and that was the initial dream of Lionel Murphy, and to take the heat out of divorce situations where they all had to make up stories about she's bonking the neighbour or whatever nonsense was going on, and and to stop all these accusations made against each other. That was the point of it. But various cases were appealed to the High Court, and it was implemented that it had to be an adversarial system. So you've left one of the most crucial and most emotional crisis moments in any normal person's life in the hands of lawyers, and they've made an absolute mess of it. Absolute mess.
Can I ask, Jacob, have you done anything like this before? I love the fact that you've come from left field. You're working on the docs, and here you are with us. I love it, man. Because the thing is, when you get this is proven, if you get a big system where lots of people invested, it cannot change itself because there's too many invested parties. So what they do is they either bring a CEO in from a completely different field, and they come in and they change everything, or it's something like this. And so this might be the way forward of actually getting someone from the outside to change a system that can't change itself. So have you done anything like this before? Because it's revolutionary.
So after the docs, I worked as a data analyst. I've always been interested in numbers. I then worked at a few different startups in Australia with a couple of really good CEOs. And once you start sitting down and talking to them, you realize that they're just normal people as well, who have just sort of taken action and sort of thought through a problem thoroughly and then committed to actually seeing it through. So I was lucky to work with a few really good young CEOs in Australia. I've then, as I said, since 2022, been using these tools to just help build websites and different platforms and software for other people and their businesses. And so there's constantly sharpening the tip of the spear in that regard. And then this is my own sort of project and purpose, and sort of where I want to direct my life's work to make a difference in the system that obviously, is broken in many ways.
Yeah, well, I can see a desperate need for it. I mean, we've all got friends who've been through the system and have just been chewed up and spat out. And so, there's a desperate need. And clarity is the need. Just to give you, at least the rules of what you're playing. You got some idea. Because otherwise you're just going in blind and deaf. And there's no sympathy for that. There's no allowance,
And the system means that you're basically being bludgeoned into accepting the unacceptable, to basically hand over your kids and see them once a fortnight if you're lucky, that even if she refuses to hand over the kids, which is just constant, they make these orders but they don't enforce them, so they're essentially unenforceable orders anyway. So
this I found funny. So this is for contact. So you want any more contact that's in the show notes, Jacob, you got a Hotmail. So there's no tech head in the world that has a Hotmail account.
I sent you an email earlier. I said, can you change my email address to make sure that...
You want a different one?
But you can contact me at admin@ryts.com.au or that one. I'll be checking them all.
I'll put that. Can you put that up in the private chat over here? And there's a private chat there. Do that there, and I'll put that one up now.
But if you want to contact my personal email, that's fine as well.
It's really interesting though how AI is basically the great liberator, isn't it? Because I saw another guy say knowledge was value. It used to be value. You need to go to court, you need a lawyer, they have the knowledge.
Yep.
You're sick, you go to a doctor, they have the knowledge. AI is liberating people from that. So this could literally be seen as, for lawyers, as basically the Portuguese turning up on their shore, and they're suddenly looking at it going, huh? What's this? But basically, this is it, because I know if people could get rid of lawyers, no offense to lawyers, they would, because most of them, most of the stories that leave people broken is just how much the lawyers want, and they're just constantly asking for money. We need another $5,000. We need another 10 grand. And I've seen this of fathers who are couch surfing, who literally got nothing, and trying to hold on to what little they have, because they also have to still support their children when their children do come around. I know, perfect example is one friend of mine, gets kicked out of the house on a false charge. So suddenly he's got half an hour to pack up his gear and leave the house. Then he's got to go to court, but he's also got to find a house where his kids can come and stay. Because he doesn't have any of the income they've got to downgrade to some cheap rental if he can find one, because there's no rentals around. So, it's a nightmare situation. So this is basically servicing a deep need in society for a helping hand in getting through this system without being completely fleeced.
Yeah. 100%. And back to an earlier point, being an equalizer, AI is everywhere around us already on social media and algorithms.
It's here, yeah.
It's
the future is not only here, it's behind us.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be used for good, to either pull your attention and keep you distracted and looking over here and not at the news over here, for example. But it's also in the same breath going to be used for a lot of good as well. So all I'm trying to do is line myself up with the good side, provide something of value to the community. And then back to the second point about fathers and couch surfing. Data, I enjoy data because it can tell a story. If you can look beyond the numbers, so let's say the minimum average cost per party is $30,000, can easily exceed $100,000, $200,000. If you just look at that, you don't really think about it. But when you can picture the individual behind it, the father who's on the couch, sleeping around, downsizing, that money shouldn't be going into the pockets of legal professionals if it doesn't need to be. It should be used to provide a future for their family, for themselves. So it's about looking beyond the numbers and trying to make it more human and providing a solution.
That's the beautiful bit, because once it's all finished, the kids are suddenly, now they've gone from having one house, now they sometimes gravitate between two. And you're right, and the father's building themselves up from nothing, because the father often has to work like crazy to rebuild everything he's lost, plus he's feeling broken, and maybe for both sides. We're just talking for men at the moment. But yeah, so for more info, contact Jacob at Jacob. It's the wrong one, sorry. What happened to the other one? Sorry.
What about child support? Is there any, which is another insanely complex system, is there any capacity in this for people to work out how to deal with child support?
I'm sure if you ask questions, it'll give you responses. We don't have any, we've got property settlement calculators.
Right.
We've got different calculators to help you figure out what it would look like, parenting planning, templates to set up, but child support we need to figure out, because that's massive. And that all comes back to if whichever party, say the mother gets 2 weeks and then the father gets every second weekend, then obviously then the costs to pay support go up as well. So if it can be fair and a 50-50 split, that levels everything out as well.
Yeah, because the child support is and that lure of, everything's going to be all right when you're in crisis and think you're about to be up on the street, and suddenly child support is a major driver of the people's refusal to settle in an amicable manner. So, the more of that's in there, probably the better.
I like that point you just made about an amicable manner. Like this platform shouldn't be about, putting two people against each other who once upon a time loved each other. If they can figure things out in an amicable manner and avoid bankrupting themselves basically on both sides, then that's the way it should happen, and then they can both hopefully keep a better family cohesion with their children and sort of move on.
Amen. Because if it gets over quickly, you've got through it, and then you can start the healing process.
Yeah.
Where at the moment, if it's this pitched battle for 2 years or whatever, it's like Israel and Palestine. They're never going to get on. There's always going to be bitterness in this. Yeah, and look, relationships fail, so it is something we have to deal with. Look, I'm in awe, man. I think it's brilliant. I love it. So it's is there anything you can show us? You said you can bring it up so people can see the website. There's a share screen below on that little square thing at the bottom with the plus sign on it. If you click on that, there's a share screen, and I can bring it up. But yeah, so I love the fact it's coming from left wing, right wing. That's great.
Has that popped up now?
Yeah, I've got it here. Yeah.
So this is the platform here now. So this is the chat where you can just ask normal questions. You can upload documents here, but here's just some responses, and I won't bore you with everything, but say you can click into all the different sections that we have stored.
Wow.
So at this point, you couldn't dictate an affidavit to it. You would have to type it in.
It's still the affidavit that will be extremely, extremely high quality, still getting developed in the background at the moment, but it is coming, and hopefully it's not too far away. But here it gives you examples and different breakdowns of all the sections. So there's thousands and thousands of sections. We can click into related cases, get the case summary, key factors. We can then go in and view the full case breakdown with analysis, what it's cited for, synthesis of it all, reasoning, how it all works and pulls together, and then for SRL specifically, and just trying to explain.
It was a famous case, wasn't it?
So the reason, when you said the reasoning, so it actually breaks complicated lawyer terms down into sort of layman speak. Is that what you're saying by reasoning?
Correct. Yeah. So it's all meant to be explained in plain English. So trying to break down all the language to make sure it's digestible by the everyday Australian, and basically all I had in my mind was the fathers I used to work with on the docks, and would be thinking, would they be able to jump on this and understand what's being said? Yeah. And actually, get something out of it and not just be absolutely bamboozled. So you've got to have
they've got anxiety in front of them too. You're there in a high pressured situation. There's anxiety that you're out of your comfort zone and you're trying to learn on your feet while you're also under attack. I mean, it's a terrible situation to be in. So something like this that basically feels like they've got a wingman, at least a wingman in their pocket is great. Yeah. Yeah, that looks fine, man.
The only other alternative at the moment is to actually go into the acts themselves and read, hundreds and hundreds of pages and try and figure out what is relevant. Okay, that this might be relevant, but what does that actually mean?
Exactly.
No average man or woman can really do that. You need to be a trained professional. It's been built by lawyers for lawyers. So it's about trying to just break down the wall.
Yeah.
It's an amazingly complex system now, partly because it's been, amended so often that trying to work it all out is just, referring to Part 5A / bracket 2, bracket A of such and such a section, and which then refers to another section, which refers to another section, and away you go. It's a labyrinth phone, and it's impossible, basically, for any normal person to make head nor tail of it.
100%.
But you can see the benefits of this, though, John, can't you? If this company breaks it down, makes it clear in layman speech, this is a very powerful tool to have in your pocket if you're going into the courts.
It's completely brilliant. Yeah, completely brilliant. Just talk a little bit more about your average bloke walking into this system, those guys you knew on the dock. How could they deal with this? How could they deal with it?
Well,
they just couldn't.
Oh, no, they just couldn't. They would just cop it. And I think that's why most of them were broken previously, because they would end up in a job that, they don't have purpose going to work day to day, but they're just trying to rebuild their life.
Yeah.
And if they're lucky, see their kids every other weekend for a few hours. So
A lot of them are depressed too because they've lost their purpose in life. They wear the status. I am a father. That's my purpose in life. This is what I'm doing. Suddenly they're on a mate's couch and they can't see their kids, and there's only limited sympathy they're getting. So they're not in a really good emotional place when they've got to tackle all this anyway. So they're not in a unless they're really defiant or really morally strong, emotionally strong, they're not in a place to start sitting down and going through the acts, which would do most people's heads in. It'd be like reading mobile phone contracts. Who does that? No one. So this is, I think this is fantastic.
Can you? We're going to have to wind up soon enough, but can you just take me back through the website a little bit, just show what it can do?
Yeah, I'll bring it up. Hold on.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean, it's really impressive.
It's very impressive.
So this is, if it's showing. Is it showing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the chat interface. So people always speak about ChatGPT and just go to ChatGPT, which is an American-based company that's trained on the whole internet, primarily US law. So when there have been hallucinations where Australians have gone into court after using ChatGPT, it's given false citations and cases. So this is trained on nothing else, purely Australian family law in one specific vertical, not trying to boil the ocean, just trying to solve one problem for one person, which is the self-represented.
Yeah.
So here, you just ask general questions. I'll pull up so we don't need to load it. It stores all your conversation histories. And again here, so let's just use this case as an example. It gives you a quick summary of the case.
Can we just go back and read that summary? I just want to have a clear look.
Sorry, give me a sec.
So, mother filled a 68-page affidavit in the morning before the father's family report interview without seeking leave of court, breaching Rule 813. Father successfully applied to discharge the family consulting, alleging procedural unfairness. Wow, so that this is what they get hit by something. This can clarify it for them in real time to what you can do about something that suddenly hits your way.
Yeah, and it'll pull up relevant circumstances, relevant cases of other people who've gone through and what the outcomes have been. So then here for this argument, you could bring up and start talking through this case specifically and trying to find out more information.
And what's RYTZ stand for? Because it's not the catchiest thing.
Rights. So I couldn't catch it. I mean, I couldn't get rights. So human rights, everyone's rights. I just made up the word.
Okay, RYTZ. Okay, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone's Brits. I'm like, oh god.
Legal wingman or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you break it down, Judge. Okay, all the courts here are broken down. What actually considered?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could go deep, like you could go really deep, and it should be empowering for people.
So that's the way.
And instead of scrolling Facebook or whatever it might be, whilst you're in the fight of your life, whilst you're fighting for your purpose of life, for your children and your future, to come in here and actually have the experience as clean as possible, as simple as possible, and for our intelligence layers to bring back everything that's relevant to you. But you can upload documents here. We can break down the sections. So the best interest, which I know is
can mean anything in the hands of a lawyer.
But it's trying to just compact as much information as possible.
Yeah.
Upload all the evidence. Upload the evidence so it gets stored properly. And then we're working on the affidavit preparation side of things as well at the moment.
How long do you think that's going to be?
That's a good question. Could be a few weeks. I'm working with one fella at the moment who's testing it out and giving really good feedback, who's a user as well. So I'm trying to speak to users, every day, trying to reach out to them and see what's working.
Do you need more people like that? Are you after more people to come on and just test it?
Yeah, people
beta
can come
test?
on and test it. Yeah, and as I said, people can sign up for free. It's free access. You can come on,
Okay.
and get a lot of value straight away.
Yeah. Okay, but that would be surely that would be a help to you. There's a lot of people out there who've been to the court cases. It's all
Yeah.
finished. They could come through and see what they would have done with this.
That's
You know?
priceless. Yep. Amazing.
Yeah. So okay, so the info for that, I'll just bring that up again. I've got it here. Got rid of the Hotmail one. What did I do with the other one? Here it is. So for more info, contact Jacob Welsh here at admin@rytz.com.au. And if you've been through a court case, you're still pissed off that you feel you got shafted, maybe come on and help Jacob perfect this, or just test it for him, like beta testing it, just to see what you come up with. I think it'd be invaluable. I think this, so for marketing this now, you're going to approach like men's support groups, stuff like that, fathers in distress,
Yeah,
and women can use it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I've spoken to Jared Purcell on Broken Fathers podcast, who's been really good. So I've been able to help out a few of his guys there. But yeah, I'll just keep chipping away in the background and start building more awareness, get feedback of people who are going through it. So then based off their feedback, I can continue refining and improving the platform to make sure it's as valuable as possible.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
Yes, because a lot of those old groups, lone fathers and dads in distress, are basically in retirement these days. So the network that existed 20 years ago when there was genuine hope for reform, a lot of them have disappeared. So, yeah. It's amazing. It's a really excellent thing, mate. It really.
Yeah,
really
hats off to you, Jacob. Honestly, if you want support, look, take us as ongoing support. If you have the affidavit gets working, or you want to say it's growing, or you'd like to come back on and promote it again, feel free, because this is great. There's so many people out there, because the other thing now at the moment facing everybody is the cost of living. So not only can they not afford a lawyer, they can't afford food. You know, the big thing is, I think we were in town the other day. I keep saying this, I can't get my head around it. They had 12 Brussels sprouts for $9. So 12 Brussels sprouts are going to cost you $9. God, heaven forsake, what a lawyer's going to cost, you know, let alone a barrister, you know.
One question I have is, what about reference? So if a bloke is threatening suicide on the site, for instance, or I feel like killing myself, like we did one story where we found that the huge number of people were saying, I'm going to nick myself to the child support agency, and they were ignoring all the things, which by law, if someone rings up and threatens suicide, you're meant to take appropriate action, but they don't. That the government doesn't, or they would refer them to the men's helpline, which was wasn't answering many of the calls. So someone's necking themselves and it's going through to an empty phone. There was a lot of that going on, and no doubt still is. So is there any, if someone gets very emotional on the site or distressed, is there does it make any suggestions?
Yeah, 100%. So in that chat orchestration that I was speaking about, where it goes to the different databases, there's a emotional intelligence sort of layer and a crisis sort of layer, which if the language is sort of saying that way, or they're being as direct at that, then it's going to, or even sort of erring on the side of that, it's going to offer them different numbers of men's helplines and whatever else to reach out. Eventually, we'd love to have a team of support where, you know, there's an instant notification, someone can get in contact by email, but yeah, it points them in the direction of the help that they should seek.
I'm just going to bring up here again before we go. This is just John's book. Now, this book is, because it's about 600 pages long, isn't it, John? It's an enormous book.
Yes, it was a huge amount of work. Huge.
Yeah.
And I want to thank John as well because that was a massive catalyst for why I continued pushing through after reading that and then listening to John on a few different podcasts. So it's an honor to be here as well, chatting to you.
Yeah, so the book's available in the BAM Book Company. If you want to get there, you get a signed copy by John. So contact him, say you want a signed copy, you get it from there. He's a bit humble. He doesn't like that because, but it's worth it and a huge amount of work. Jacob, thank you for coming on. I wish you the best with this. Stay in touch if you need any help as much as we can with our reach. But congratulations. I love the proactive approach. I love the fact you're just trying to help your fellow man. And if it can become a business, fantastic. So there's such a crying, desperate need from this. And I'm sorry, but the system is not fixing itself at all. The system, it's just not. It's just virtue signaling. It's bullshit. So there's so many people out there broken. And if you want to see how broken it is, I live on the road. The amount of white crosses I see on long country roads next to trees is there. And these are the hidden suicide rates. They don't even get counted. They're everywhere. So we have a huge problem and we're looking for solutions. And this is a very proactive attempt at a solution. So hats off to you, Jacob. I'm thoroughly impressed with you, mate.
Thanks.
Thoroughly impressed. Yeah. Anything else, John?
Right, RYTZ.com.au.
Correct.
Excellent work, mate. Excellent.
Thanks, guys.
No,
Thank you very much.
No worries. Okay, we're going out. If you need any more info, you've just in the show notes, it's got the email there, and reach out to Jacob. Take care, guys. And I'll see you next week, John. And let's go out with the song we started with. Good night, and I'll see you tonight with Oosterhouse. Later tonight with Oosterhouse.
When I met Jesus Christ, he was almost 10 years old. And he was helping his mother push a trolley full of all they owned. And because they couldn't find an inn they could get in, they were heading to the city and leaving Bethlehem. Couldn't you perform a miracle? I'm out of them, he said. I tried turning nothing into warmth, but it just made my mother cry. It just made my mother cry. Mary Magdalene has become a man, and tonight he's old, and she has been riding my tram. Now it's late and she's trying to sleep beneath a poster for a bank. Your dreams are important to us as it bathes her face in gold. Come give us your natural gifts, we make wealth from toil. Come pretend for history's page that we're advancing Australia. Let's pretend that we're all advancing Australia fair. Back down the road I found the church we built on the black man's bones was empty, and out the front a sign read all but sold. A sign read all but sold. And we all owe so much money, but to who